Welcome to the Panic Room, where we talk about all things panic-inducing. I am the Queen of Panic. Warning, some episodes may contain content that may be disturbing to others. Viewer discretion is advised. Now let the games begin. My name is Victor, and a few years ago, I was married to a woman I had loved and given everything to named Jessie. Jessie and I had a beautiful baby girl named Victoria. My wife thought it would be funny to name her that because she really did look like me. We had a son named Caleb, and I loved both of my children more than any words could do it justice. I just wished I had stood up for myself against my now ex-wife. If I had, I wouldn't be crying while typing this. Sorry, I'll add more context. Jessie and I knew raising two kids wasn't going to be easy, especially raising them in New York at a time where I barely made enough to tide us over. It's why at first I was honestly excited and surprised when Jessie told me that she found a job. I had felt bad because I had promised her that she could be a stay-at-home mom after we had gotten married. That was before prices went up, but my pay hadn't. My bosses all kept giving me the bullcrap excuse that if I wanted more pay, I needed to work harder. One of them even had the stones to tell me that our financial problems weren't his problems. I struggled to look for a better paying job, but I just didn't meet their expectations. I wanted to get more skills to change that. But then, Jessie told me that she was pregnant with Caleb, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to finish school while balancing our new little bundle of joy in our lives. So, even though I felt horrible for breaking my promise to Jessie, I was happy for success in finding a job. I told her how much a new wave of income would definitely help us, now more than ever, in her eyes, to my surprise, lit up like fireworks. We both were happy about it, until a wave of dread randomly took me off guard. My joy turned to dust as I asked her about her new job. She told me where it was, but it wasn't until she told me who she was working for that things got heated. You see, we had this neighbor that always was a little too kind to Jessie. It started off small, like helping go get the groceries into our apartment, or having simple conversations about her day and allowing her to vent about Vicky. It then started getting uncomfortable with how she would go on and on about Thompson. So much so that I admittedly was starting to feel jealous. It led to arguments between us about how insecure I had to be threatened by an older man who owned his own business and the apartment complex that we lived in. His excuse for not getting some big house in upstate New York was that none of the houses lived up to his standards. Apparently, it was their little joke. I told Jess of my concerns, but she brushed it away. She got dressed for her interview, and admittedly, she looked stunning. We shared a car, so naturally, I had to drive her there with our kids in the back. To this day, I felt horrible that I had to argue with her in front of them, but this bad feeling just wouldn't go away. She eventually lost her patience and got out of the car. I got out and started a full-on screaming match with her in the company parking lot. Jessie kept walking as now I had to take the kids out of the car and followed her to the building, barely having any time to lock my car. Tears fell from Caleb's cheeks as he cried for his mother. In her rage, she took Caleb from me and told me, "Fine, Victor. You want to argue so bad and make me lose this job? Then let's just go." She hadn't realized what she had done as she put Caleb into the back of someone else's car until it started to peel away. We all immediately ran to our car and chased after it. Jessie was behind the wheel, and it would spell death for my son. He was only a year old 2 days before this incident. Sorry, cooking this meal for my daughter and I has made my eyes water a bit. Anyway, we were bumper to bumper for a small amount of time until they decided to make a few turns. I was in shock and couldn't think of anything else but saving Caleb. Jessie turned a different direction at random as she was convinced that she knew a shortcut. 5 minutes went by and we weren't close to finding that car again. It took 2.5 hours and the cops pulling us over before Jessie stopped. We had to explain everything that happened. The officers escorted us home as a couple of police cruisers were sent to hunt down the vehicle. As you can only imagine, we hadn't seen Caleb since then. Rather than talk to me about any of it, my now ex-wife ran into Thompson's arms. It made me snap, but with a stone face, I told her that I was sending Vicky to my mom's for a few days. You know what's been nice about having friends who want to save money for their zoo and living close to the zoo? Depending how you cut up the meat, no one really asks questions what's fed to the animals of the zoo. I kept some of it though. After all, I'm now a single dad of 2 children. The police were useless, but I found Caleb. It took a lot of digging, but I found him 2 months after the divorce. The oil stings my skin for a second, but I continue to cook in this frying pan. As I told the cops, as far as I know, Jessie and Thompson ran off together, leaving me to care for our 2 kids. I refused to tell them how I found him. Just that I somehow did. None of the charges stuck to my record, and I got my kids. Well, dinner is ready, so I need to go. Personally, I think these steaks look really good. Probably my best work yet. And my kids seem to agree, as they both clean their plates. And who says vengeance is a dish best served cold? My mom told me this story. She must have been, 4 or 5? She woke up one night to her mom sitting up stick straight on the edge of her bed and a faint buzzing coming from somewhere near the corner of her room. As the buzzing got closer, my mom felt this overwhelming dread filling her body as something unbelievably evil was coming towards her. She sat there in fear. She heard her mom whisper, "Duck." "What?" my mom asked. "Duck," my grandma replied. "No, a bee," my mom said, completely confused, the horrible feeling sucking all the air out of the room, the buzzing ringing in her ears. "No, duck!" my grandma screamed. My mom threw her head under the covers, just in time to hear the buzzing fly over her head and out the window above her bed. When she removed the blankets, her mother was gone. She went to her parents' room and pulled on her mommy's sleeve as she appeared fast asleep. "Why'd you leave, Mommy?" she said. "What? You're dreaming, Annie. Go back to bed." Confused, my mom went back to her room and went to sleep, but didn't think about the situation until years later. But until this day, she believes her mother's spirit saved her from some kind of evil force that night when she was just a small child. If you have any of your own stories and would like to submit them for narration, please go into the link in the description and submit your stories to the subreddit to see your stories featured here. And as always, thank you for visiting the Panic Room. You have successfully made it to the next portion of your tour. Please stay tuned for your next prompt. Click the like button and subscribe to receive notifications for when the next portion of your tour is ready to join. Thank you for watching. Don't let the panic drown you.